Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we are back in The Sims 4. I'm very excited. Yet again, I'm being all aesthetic and showing you my Sims house before we get into it. But this video is going to be a bit different from my last Sims video that I did, because I did like a cozy gameplay thing, and that was ages ago, like I'm not even joking. But I've been wanting to do this, it's just that I've not been playing this family to do it. But we're actually here, and I'm actually going to be like telling you all about Everest. So Everest here, she is the sim that I have been going on about forever. She's on the pot right now, so like let me just press play for a minute and let her do her thing. But she has been the sim that I have been wanting to tell you about, because her life, her backstory, I won't say backstory because I have played all of it. So basically just her life, her juicy self, because she has a story, she really does, and I have played it all, so I'm very excited to do it. But before I get into the video, I'm just going to apologise in case there's any like disturbances, as if there's any irritating noises. This time I don't have my fan on, but if you can hear my computer like revving up because of me doing this, then I'm sorry. And also I'm sat with the dog, so if she makes a snoring noise or if she's barks, apologies in advance. So yeah, so Ev's life is juicy, and I don't even know where to start, but basically she was born in the game. So I don't know, I always show the family tree, but I feel like that's probably easier to do. So we'll show the family tree, which you've seen many times if you've seen my other videos. But yeah, her dad was Amari and her grandfather was Sawyer. Obviously Sawyer was the founder of this legacy that I'm doing. So yeah, Amari and Lanaya had her and her twin sis Emerson, and obviously I was playing her last time. But yes, so as of right now she is married to Cassius, but we will get on to that, because the idea is that she has so much more about her. But as you can see here, she has some babies, but this one here, her son Oakley, is not Cassius's son, because she had a life way before this. And it was interesting. We're going to go into him. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you, but like, here we go. So we click on him, and this is actually his daddy. So when Everest was a teenager, when they were in school, she met this boy called Skylar, and she fell head over heels. The idea is that she has like friends and stuff, which we'll get into, but she fell head over heels for this boy Skylar. Here he is, obviously, but he captivated her. He was like her biggest crush in high school, and it was one of them because Cassius was always there. Like Cassius was like in the friend group, so like they were all a friend group. It was like her and her sis and then her other friends that I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, she really liked this guy. Like she had such a big crush on him forever, and it was one of them where nobody really liked him because he was a bit of a dick. I'm gonna say it. Bit of a douchebag, a bit of an idiot. We didn't really like him. He hung with the wrong crowd, and we just didn't. He just wasn't the best person. But something about him, like Ev was such a girly girl. She was one of them popular girls, and I feel like she just had a thing for bad boys, so she just really liked him. Like, and plus he looked way better than he does now. So she just had this thing for him. And everyone else was just like, no girl, like give it a rest, sort of those kind of things. I don't really know how they ended up together. I did just kind of get them together, so they ended up together. But yeah, I feel like he maybe like sort of had a thing for her as well, and ended up asking her out. So then they started dating, they went on dates, and then they got together, and she was like living her best life. She was over the moon, she was on cloud 9, and she was just then with her boyfriend like all the time. And obviously her sister was a little bit like, why? Like, it was one of those where they had that relationship where everyone that cared for Ev was just trying to support her, because they just nobody really liked Skylar, like, at all. Like, they just didn't. And she was always like, shut up, like, why don't you like him? Like, I like him, like, what's wrong with him? And they would just be like, well, and she would fall out with so many people because of the fact that they didn't like him. And it was kind of a shame, because she was just infatuated with him at the time. Obviously our relationship's a bit shit right now, but, you know, she was like, what, I don't know, 16, 17 possibly, so of course she was gonna be like that, because, you know, when you're young. But yeah, so they started dating, and it was fine. Like, they were at home and she would go out on dates, but a lot of the time, like, her sis would always get annoyed because she would invite him to things, and she'd be like, why have you invited him? So they would get in a lot of fights and all that jazz, and it was just, you know, it was interesting. But yeah, eventually, because at the time, it was at the time when cottage living came out, so they were doing the farming life, and my sim Lanaya, so her mom, was obsessed with the cows and the chickens and the garden. And Emerson was the same. Like, her sister Emerson, she loved it too. I mean, we know this. Like, I was literally playing them last, and she has the exact same lifestyle, you know? Like, she has her own farm, her own cow, her own chickens, and everything. Oh, Jesus, yeah, we still have that. But she still has all that life, so she loves it. She's even a gardener herself. She was the exact same. So, it was obvious that she was all right with it, but Ev was just never like that. Like, she was just like, no, I don't want to be in the garden. Like, I don't want to do the cow and the chickens. Like, that's gross. Like, she was very into, like, fashion, very into, like, things like that. Growing up with her sis was very different, because I feel like when they were kids, like, they're so much closer now than they were, because when they were kids, they just didn't really, like, get along. Like, they lived together, they were just together with each other, and they both just liked different things, you know? Like, her sis liked the things her mum did, but she didn't. Like, she had a boyfriend, she had friends, she just wanted to go out all the time, and at the time as well, she was obsessed with the city, you know? Like, she was obsessed, she wanted to live in the city. Like, she was desperate. Like, when she was of age, she could not wait to leave the countryside and just go into the city and have her an apartment and just live her best life, basically, because that is what she wanted. You're sad? Oh, okay. But yeah, here's my sis. She's a year on cue when I'm talking about you. But yeah, in high school, we were kind of different, and she couldn't wait for it. So eventually she ditched, and she was like, right, guys, parents, sis, I'm off. Why am I throwing it away? And I'm gonna live with my boyfriend, because her boyfriend, you know, Skylar was a little bit older than her. You know, like, he was like a few years older. So he left school before her, and then he got his own apartment. So she moved in with him. And she could not wait. She was so excited. She was like, oh my god, an apartment inside my studio. Like, I'm so excited. But I kid you not, it was the dingiest, most rundown apartment that they ever did have. And she hated it. So yeah, she moved in with Skylar, and she absolutely hated it. She hated the apartment. It was so dingy and so rundown and awful. Like, she just couldn't cope with it. She was like, oh my god, this is not where I'm living. Because, you know, they had rats, they had cockroaches, they had the annoying, like, sparks in the, whatever it was, the, like, plumbing system. She just hated it. Every second of it, she was like, ugh, like, I can't wait to get a better house or be able to afford, because of course they didn't have any money. Skylar was a criminal. Like, he worked in the criminal career. She got a job as a social media, like, influencer or whatever it is, because that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be online. She wanted to do you know, influencing. She was, like, trying to do videos, you know, the recording, and she wanted to do all of that. So she was doing all of that. And they were basically just trying to make ends meet. and it was fine, you know, like they just, like, it was just them two for a while, and then he proposed. Now, the proposal was not planned. So, you know those times when you can be playing a different sim and somebody can ring you and they can be like, so, I found a ring in his pocket or whatever. Yeah, that happened to me. And I, at the time, did not know what that meant. I had not seen that before. And so I think I clicked on, like, you should decide, which then meant when I came back to her with him, that she'd said yes, and they were engaged. And I was shook to the core because I did not expect anything to come of it. And so I was genuinely shook, because I did not think that was going to happen. So it was, because that was not a part of my plan. Like, this wasn't the storyline I was going towards. But anyways, she ended up being engaged. Like, they ended up being engaged. But I was like, you know what, fine, I'll just go with the story, I'll just leave it at that, so we'll just go with it. And so at this point they were engaged, and so I then started playing them again, and I then of course added some drama because of, like, the fact that Skylar was just never the one. Like, in my head, I always knew he was never going to be the one, but she thought he was. Like, she thought he was the love of her life, like, genuinely. She loved him, and she was just young and naive, and she just thought that she loved him. So she said yes, and she was so excited for the wedding. Like, they tried to plan the wedding, but of course all of her, like, family members were like, you know, why are you marrying him? Like, you know, why, you know, things like that. But, like, they were like, why are you marrying him? Like, we don't like him. And she was just like, stop being like that. So she was slightly distanced to people. So I'll get into her, like, friends now, I think. But she has a best friend, here she is, called Paige. We love her. She is everything to us. She is our best friend, ride or die. We love you to pieces kind of thing. Like, we were friends in high school, all of it. So she was there for us the entire time. But of course, she was the same, and she didn't like Skylar. Nobody liked him. Like, they just didn't. So when she was like, yeah, I'm getting married, they were all a bit like, what? And plus, she was still really young at this point. She was probably like 19. And they were like, you're getting married? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you've barely like had a chance to, like, be with anyone else. So they were all a bit like, I'm not sure. Like, yeah, nobody really got behind the wedding, but they tried to support her in any way. Like, her parents were like, you know, her dad was like, but they just, you know, they just sort of went along with it. So she had her own savings, and she tried so hard. Like, she was desperate to save for the wedding, but he was just an actual bleep. Like, he was. And he would go out and he would steal, he would rob places, like, he would waste money like no other, and he would smoke, he would drug deal. He was a little bit of a, you know, he was one of them. I have made base mental in, so that came in handy with this kind of time, because he did that, like, he did. So yeah, he was a bit of a so-and-so, and they would argue constantly, but the main thing was, of course, Oakley. So the intention was she was going to get pregnant. So that's what happened. She got pregnant by him. Like, they were already engaged at this point, and then she got pregnant. And so that was a bit of a curveball, because that was not planned. She was yet again 19, 20, and she was like, oh my god, like, she was still living in this apartment that she was like, I don't even like it, you know, like, I hate this apartment, like, I don't want to raise my baby here, you know, things like that. And she was like, but we were trying to save for a new apartment, and then for the wedding, and then now I'm having a baby. So everything just sort of just threw curveballs in her face, and it was just like, oh my god. So yeah, it was crazy. But in either way, she was not doing that. So she was not that kind of girl, and she was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a baby then. It's gonna be a thing. I'm gonna have a baby. Like, I'm gonna be a mom. Like, wow. And of course she was excited, because she will. Like, she is. Like, even though she was terrified, she was also excited about it. Plus, that was another thing that everyone was then like, what? So, like, you're now pregnant? Like, oh my lord. Yeah, so that was the next thing. She got pregnant with Oakley, but we'll get into him a little bit in a little bit. But yeah, that was just one of them. Like, her being pregnant with him, Skylar was just like, oh. Well, like, he was just like, oh. Skylar was just not the right person. He was mean, he's a slob, he's a kleptomaniac, he's just not a good guy. And he just still isn't. It's not one of those situations where, you know, like, he becomes better. Like, no. Having Oakley was a big thing. But she was not, like, obviously her sister was very against Skylar and the wedding and all that. But the minute she told her she was pregnant, she was there for her, like, to the T. She was like, okay, don't panic. Like, I'm here for you. You know, we'll get through it. We'll be fine. Those kind of things. And she was really, it was really nice to have that. Like, Ev was almost then scared to tell people, but she still did because she had to, and they had to know. But, you know, she told them, and then, you know, everyone got through it. But Skylar was just horrible. Like, he was just not the one, and he showed his true colours. Like, they always say, you never know somebody until you live with them. And the minute she moved in with him, that showed. Like, it just showed. Because he was awful, basically. And of course, all this was still a thing while she was friends with Cassius. You know, so she still knew Cassius from school, and they were still really good friends, and Cassius was just madly in love with her the entire time. Cassius always loved her, always, and it was heartbreaking to see because he was trying to be there for her through all of it, like through her being pregnant with him, through her like being engaged to Skylar. He was just, you know, one of the friends that was like in love from afar, and it's always really heartbreaking to think about, to be honest. So she had Oakley, and then that was that then. He was still sort of an idiot, but she had the support that she needed from people. But of course that meant that the wedding was on hold because she had to use the money, the savings that they'd saved to... Hold on. Stop right there. Here's Oakley. He's not so little because he's a blooming young adult and he's in uni right now, which is kind of fun. But yeah, so Oakley was born, and then, yeah, there was some interesting stuff going on because he wasn't just a douche in the sense that he was like a criminal and he did some like dealing that he shouldn't have been doing. He also cheated on her as well, and she was very jealous at the time as well of him because of the fact that she became very, like, she was very thingy. Like, they would always say like, they would say comments and she would be like, no, he's not like that. So it almost became a thing where basically when she found out that he was cheating on her, she was then terrified to say anything to anybody because she was like, well, you were right all along, and I constantly said to you, like, no, shut up, he's fine. And I feel like she really fought the urge to be like, well, told you so, you know, her sis Emerson. But I feel like, she did. But the funny thing is, at the time, it ended up being a bit difficult because I don't even know if we still know you. I don't think we do, which is kind of annoying at this point. But Paige has a sister called Sophie. And yeah, she was the one that she found in bed with Skylar. And so that was a bit interesting because then she ran to Paige, like it was a bit of a shouty, screamy, like, how dare you get out of my house, what the hell do you think you're doing kind of thing. It was not Paige, her bestie, it was her sister. And she also liked Sophie, like she did. So it was like, how could you, sort of thing. But then because of that, she thought that Paige had knew about it the entire time, and so went to her door kicking and screaming and was like, how dare you not say anything, like, you're meant to be my bestie. But then she was like, what? I didn't know anything about it. And she's like, sure you didn't. So they had a falling out for a little bit, and she tried to go back to the house, because then once she found out that, she threw the ring back in his face, and that was it. Because of course, if we go back in here, you can see broken engagement. I broke up with him, I dumped his arse, I left him in the dust in his stingy apartment, because she hated it. And whenever she would go back to the garden and the cows and chickens, she realised she actually missed it. You know, she basically took for granted what she had, and so she kind of felt bad then for how she treated like everybody. But she ended up going back to her parents with Oakley. She just took off completely and left him, and obviously Paige came like, oh, of course, my sis. Oh, to you? Okay. But like, yeah, obviously Paige came like banging at the door, trying to beg, like, what are you on about? Like, I don't know why you hate me right now. Like, what did I do to you? And she's like, you know what you did. Rah, rah, rah. Eventually, though, Paige found out, and she was pissed. Like, absolutely livid with her sister that had happened, that she'd done that. And so they had a bit of a moment. And I think then, after that, because Paige basically denounced on, like, you know, the fact that they were sisters, I think that made her end things with him. They weren't, like, to dating, like, it was not like a full-on, oh, you're also my girlfriend kind of thing. It was just he was hooking up with her, like, behind her back and all that jazz. So of course, you know, it was one of them. So then she ended up ending it, because she was like, no, we can't do this. Like, what were we actually doing? Like, we ruined it. And Skylar just didn't care. Like, he was supposed to be in love with her. Like, you've had a child, like, you were going to get married, and you've done that to her, and you still don't really care. Like, how could you? You know, he was such an idiot. So yeah, in the end, she just went back to her parents' house. I feel like her dad at some point beat him to a pulp, which was hella fun to play. And yeah, that was it then. She lived with baby. She lived back with her parents for quite a while before she was able to find a house for them to move to. I feel like Oakley was at least a child when they moved into their own house, because she just had no money. Like, she just didn't. Like, she couldn't afford anything, so she just had to stay with her parents for a while. And then, basically, she then went through a phase where she was a single mom. She lived on her own with Oakley in their own little house in Willow Creek, and, you know, it was alright. You know, like, she'd left him, but she was still heartbroken. Of course she was. But around the time, she ended up confiding in Cassius a lot, because of course she couldn't really talk to Paige. Paige was still like, that was when she was like not talking to her. She didn't like her because she thought she knew about everything. So she only really had Cassius that she could confide in. So that's how they got close. Like, that's how they ended up getting closer and closer. And she, you know, he was there comforting her and being there for her and obviously she really appreciated it, because, you know, she needed that friend. And obviously he was another one of those people that was like, why do you want to be, like, why him, why not me? Because he loved her the entire time, sort of thing. And he was just like, why not me? So yes, Cassius was always in love with her, as you can see. We're cutesy now. Oh, hold on, steady on, what's that? Yeah, we're going into the time where this is now sort of showing you, or like, I'm going to be telling you about how this became a thing, because as you can tell, they're a thing, and she's married now. We're married now, you know, like I said that at the beginning, we're married, and we have our own babies. So this is the part where we're going to talk about you, really, and this is the fun bits, really, about your story, but it still has some juicy moments. But yeah, it's the fact that obviously we were sad because I was like cheated on, and I ended it with him, and I felt like no one really cared about me. Like, I didn't, you know, no one liked me, because they basically were just a bit like, well, we told you, kind of thing. But they tried not to be like that, because obviously she she, she felt like embarrassed then. She really did. She was embarrassed at the fact that they saw, or like they thought this, like they thought these things. So her and Cassius, their relationship got so much stronger because she spent so much time with him. Like he was there while she was pregnant, and obviously that was before anything came to fruition, is that the word, of like about Skylar. So they were just like, I don't know, they just connected so much more because she just never saw him that way. Like, they were friends, so she just never saw him like that in school, or like even like as they got older, because he definitely didn't look as good as he does now. He definitely had one of them glow ups where he was probably like, he probably had braces and he was full of acne, and he wasn't as like buff as he is now. Like it's one of them. So he definitely had a bit of a glow up. Let's have you, Daddy. Let's have you, because I'm talking about you. I wanted you to. Oh no, you don't press that. I wanted you to bring Ivy out here to play, but it's raining. That's really rude, but it's fine. Her and Cassius, they started, like, she started realizing her feelings for him, basically. Like, the more that they spent time together, the more that he never like pressured any advances, because he wouldn't, because he's a loyal sim. Like, he actually has the traits, and so he was trying to be nice, like trying to be better, trying to be there, instead of being the rebound, or like not the rebound, but almost, because she was still angry and still hurt by him. So of course he never was wanting to be that kind of guy, he never was. So he waited basically until she was ready, and it took her a while. It really did. Like, she was living the single life in a way. She then was doing the single parent thing, and she was loving it. Like, she then was like, eventually got over Skylar, and she was like, yeah, I feel like we need to. She started like, maybe I should start dating. So she definitely did date some of the guys before she realised her feelings for Cassius. But then obviously, like, she did. They obviously like got closer, and she was like, she started, going out with him and stuff, and they were going on dates and those kind of things. Can I not brush you? I really need to. But it was so cute, because he treated her like a queen, like the way he treated her was so different to that. And he was like crazy, like he was like, oh my god, like when she started, accepting his advances and things like that, she was just like, oh my god, like, are you actually, is this actually happening to me? Because he had dreamt about it, but he never thought it would actually happen, like, ever. And I'm sure he had girlfriends as well, and they just never worked out. Because, I don't know, he's a good guy, though, so I feel like he would never really want to do any of that with her, because, or with anyone else, because he always wanted to be with her, so it was just one of them. But they started going on dates, and, it was really cute, but they took it very slow, because, like, he lived in Oasis Springs, and she lived in Willow Creek. They, like, had their own houses, and, of course, she had, like, a, I don't know, 7-8-year-old son at the time, so she still was a bit like, it's kind of like one of them. But the thing was because Cassius was always in their life, Oakley never knew him as his dad, so obviously, like, he was young. We didn't have infants at the time, but I always say that he would have been an infant when she, like, left. They then started dating, and it was so adorable. Like, honestly, I'm not kidding, but when I made Cassius, like, because I never intended, like, when I was doing the storyline with Skylar, I always pictured her, like, obviously leaving him, but then I never, like, saw anything else, you know, like, I never then like knew what was going to happen afterwards. I was like, who is she then going to get with? Like, I made Cassius as just like a friend, and then I was like, wow, like, I could actually see them together, like, they would be so cute together. So I was like, you know what? So then obviously I did it where they were obviously friends, but I didn't want to do it as like a sort of retaliation or whatever, rebound thing. So yeah, it was just one of them, but I liked it because hang on. Oh no. Oh. Oh my god. Yeah, so Cassius was always Cassius to Oakley. Oakley adored him. 100% absolutely adored him completely. Like, he never knew his dad, but he never thought Cassius was, because she would always say, like, oh, Cassius, you know, like, go to Cassius, like, we're going to see Cassius today. So he always was like, yay, Cassius, you know, like, he was always excited to see him, and Cassius was always excited to see Oakley. Like, it was one of them. Are you not giving her some food? Because I told you to. Yeah, Oakley and Cassius had such a cute relationship. Like, they loved each other. Like, he loved Oakley, even though it was his son. Like, he didn't care. Like, because he was her son, I think is the reason why he loved him. And he did look at him thinking, like, if only you were mine, sort of thing. Like, when he was little, he did do that. Like, he did. So it was always a shame. But, you know, it was what it was. But he was then happy because, you know, he was like, well, we're together now, so I'm not really bothered. You know, and I love her son as well. So it's like, I don't really care. I have two of them to love now. So they were dating, but very, like, casual, very slowly. Like, they took it slow because they didn't want to, like, rush anything. So they did that. And honestly, it was really fun. Like, they were dating, but obviously I loved both of them, and it just felt different because obviously, like, when they had their first kiss, oh my god, it was so cute. It really was. It was adorable. Because it was like I shipped them, you know, like, it was like a show when the two characters you want to be a thing finally, like, get together. It's just so exciting. So when that happened, I was screaming. I was living for it. Yeah, basically they still lived separate, but then obviously I think they were like right, we're gonna obviously move in together. Like, we're finally gonna move in together, but, like, let's get a house. And so they were looking together, and then in the end, she was just like, do you want to just move in with me? So he then, like, came and lived with them, and he brought his own dog, Blue. Like, he's only just died, which is really sad, but I'll show you his thingy. But this was his companion, his ride or die, man's best friend's doggy, Blue. But he died because he was old, and he was also loyal. That's actually really cute because he's loyal. So yeah, it was they both moved in, and then they were like a family then for a while. It was adorable. Like, it was so cute. But of course, I was like, because I feel like she never really cared about any more children. Like, I never knew if she actually wanted kids, but I don't know, she sort of did give me the vibe where she would be a mum, but I almost feel like she would have, like, she definitely wanted to be the, like, internet personality where she lived in her own fancy penthouse, and be with somebody she loves, you know. And at the time she thought it was Skylar, but then obviously her life changed. Like, then she was with Cassius, but he was obviously like, wild. Oh no, are you okay? Don't tell me you're ill, because that will be so annoying. Stop now. They are so cute. That hand placement though, boy. Oh my gosh. But yeah, stop. I'm having them be cutesy bootsie right now, because they are. But whoa, these kisses though. They kill me. But yeah, they finally moved into a house. They actually moved to Copperdale because that's when we got high school years. Because that's where they live right now. We live in Copperdale, but it was a different house because I found a different house that I liked at the time, and it was really adorable. But yeah, the kids thing, I was like, I don't know, but then I was like, I just have to. Wait, what? Okay. I was like, I just have to do it because I just wanted him to have a child, like have his own. So yeah, I did it, and she got pregnant with Ivy. That was so exciting. Obviously, I considered a child because obviously when you like meet somebody else, you then just for some reason want to have their baby. I don't know what it is, but you do. So I did. I was like, I kind of want them to have another. Like I want him to have one. And I was like, I kind of want it to be a girl, not gonna lie. So I had that in my head, but they waited, they had to date for a little bit, and they were in this new house. But of course, he wanted to propose like so much earlier than he did propose. But of course, it was always a struggle with doing that because he was nervous because of what happened with her and Skylar, because they were engaged, I feel like she wasn't afraid of commitment, but she kind of was, she was a little bit, because it took them time to get together, and it took, they took it slow, like slower than it did with her relationship with Skylar. I think it made her realise like how fast she actually was going with him, and so she was like, wow, I'm actually enjoying like getting to know you more and like doing it, like taking it slow, like I actually like that. So yeah, it was a bit more refreshing for her. So he was like dead set, like I'm gonna marry this girl eventually, but I'm just terrified because I don't know how she's gonna take it. But he got the courage and he dropped to his knee, and she was like, it's about time, because obviously she loved him too. And I feel like she actually had a whim to get engaged to him, and I was like, oh my god, like I did not expect that, like I really didn't, and she did. So it worked out really, and so that was really fun because then they got engaged. I feel like I have photos of all this, don't I? I do. Here we go, look, I have like, because I'm a bit addicted to post player, but like we did an engagement party, but like she was pregnant at the time, and I feel like do we know about it at the time? We may have done, but I can't remember. But like, look at all our babies. Like I've got like an order of babies, so that's baby Oakley. This is baby Ivy, so that's the one she was pregnant with during the engagement party and stuff, and that was exciting because see here we have like a pregnancy shoot that I did that I was obsessed with too, and like having Ivy was so exciting, like we'd got engaged and then I was pregnant, and she was a little bit like, oh dear, like I'm repeating having Oakley, but she knew in her heart that Cassius would never, like he was not like that. He would never in a million years do such a thing. So she was nervous. She had the slight worry, but then she knew, like, and she loved him. Like she then realised what love was with him, because like she thought she was in love with Skylar. Oh no, she was definitely not. So this little bean right here that's got some green steam coming from her bed sheets, this is little Ivy Wren. She was the baby that they had that I planned. So this is all kind of funny at the fact that we actually have two. But we'll get into Bloom a little bit later on. But yes, little Ivy Wren is absolutely adorable. She's only just become a toddler actually. I was going to go into her profile, but I'll have to do it through you, won't I? Amazing. But yeah, here she is. Look at her. She's precious. She's so cute. But yeah, she's literally just become a toddler. But she's adorable. Like, I love her name. Like, at the time, I couldn't decide. Like, I was obsessed with the name Wren as well, but I also wanted to name her Ivy, so I was just like, alright, let's just do two, Ivy Wren. But yeah, this is where we get onto the babies. But having Bloom was not as, like, fine and dandy as you. So, of course, we're now engaged at this point. We're now going to get married. So we're doing the whole, that whole thing again, where it's like, right, well, now we're gonna be doing a wedding again. Now we're planning a wedding. And she was nervous, like she was. But of course, she was pregnant while, like, not long after we got engaged. So she, yeah, she was a bit like, right, well, we're going to have to put the wedding on hold yet again and have a baby first. But they were fine with it. You know, she was a little bit, she just had like this feeling inside that was different to when she was with Skylar, and plus she was older at this point, so it felt different. So they did that. Everyone was so excited when she got with Cassius, because I feel like they were like me and they shipped them. Like, Em was then like, sorry, you and Cassius are together? Like, what? Like, about time. I mean, not really, but sort of, because, you know, they were like, wow, like, I'm so excited about that, because they just love them together. You have got to be kidding me, people. We are not having any more children. So then she was born, and Oakley was then a big bro, and he had a little sister, and it was everything. And yeah, life was good then. Like, they were fine, and, you know, and then Growing Together came out, and I was living my best life, because that was then when I had, like, my very first infant and all that, and I was going through some stuff. But then my gameplay got a bit stale, so this is where I got some more drama in the mix, and it revolves you. It revolves you and your daddy. So obviously, Skylar, like, we then went for some years without Skylar in the picture, and so hey, and so he had never met his dad, ever. He didn't really care. He didn't really want anything to do with him. But one day, Ev had some new co-workers, actually. She has a group called the Style Influencers, because that's her new job. And she has these, like, influencers that are a little bit younger, and then she has to train them. And they were like, come on, let's go out and have some fun, you know, like, let's go to the bar, let's go to this club. And she was like, I feel like those days were a bit behind her, but she went anyways. And who was there? Him. So Skylar was there, very drunk, and he sees her, of course he does, and so he goes over and he's like slurring at her, saying like, where's my son, can I finally meet him? And of course these two have no idea about any of her life or her backstory or any of it, because she's like, why would I burden my, you know, like, whatever they are, my like interns, not interns, but you know what I mean, like new like co-workers with my sob story. And so she was like, yeah, no. So yeah, in the end it all blew up in their face, and they found out through that. But they were nice, they were caring, they were helpful, and they helped. But that was that then. And she was like, felt sick, because she was like, what do I do? Like, he's now demanding to see his son, which he probably should do, because it's been years. Like, I've kind of hidden him for years. I mean, her maiden name is Navero. Now, but when he was born a Ridley, which is obviously his dad's last name. But of course, she was like, so she took it to the office and was like, can we change that? So he's now a Navero. Like, he's now a Navero instead of Ridley, but he was. So she kind of felt guilty, even though she shouldn't really, because he was an idiot. But it was just hard. So she then had this sort of feeling in her stomach. She was like, what do I do? She's like, I can't tell anyone, because if I tell Cassius, he'll want to beat him to the ground. If I tell my sis, she'll want to beat him to the ground, you know. And it was one of them where she was like, well, who do I tell? Nobody. So for a while, she sort of kept it to herself, which was eating her alive, basically. And she was getting really sick. She was like, oh my god, like, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel sick all the time? You know, and those things. Because you can probably guess where I'm going with it. But Little Bloom was cooking in the oven. But obviously that was a bit of a like, whoa sort of thing. Because I never intended for her to have two with Cassius. I was only wanting Ivy. Like, that was planned. But then something happened where during this like drama that I was doing, I was like, what if she was to like get pregnant in all this? And I was just like, ha, no, don't do it, girl. I did it, of course I did. So then she got pregnant again with Bloom, and so when she found that out, she was like, oh my god, because like that is why these two are so close in age, because I mean, I feel like it's Bloom's birthday soon. Like, I've aged up like here, and then Bloom ages up here, so yeah. But she was like, oh my god. So she had that thing where she couldn't tell anyone about Skylar, but then she was like, now I'm pregnant as well. Like, what is gonna happen? So eventually she went to her sis, and she basically just like word vomited the entirety of it to her, and she was a little bit like, oh my god, like, are you kidding me? But also like, I'm here for you, like, you're my twin, so of course I am, and like, you're having another baby, you need to tell Cassius. Like, she was like, you need to tell him. She's like, I know he's not gonna like it, or I know you don't want him to, you know, beat him to a pulp, which I want to do as well, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, you just need to tell him, because he needs to know. And so she did. She told him, and I do feel like she said she finally told something. She finally told Oakley as well. Like, oh, by the way, your dad wants to see you, because, like I said, Oakley always knew that Cassius wasn't his dad, and so that meant that she had told him about his dad, but he was always told that he was a bit of a so-and-so, a bit of a douche, a bit of a dick, he was horrible to her, you know, he treated her badly. So really, that made him not want anything to do with him, because, you know, because of what he did to his mum, and he hated it. Yeah, that made him not like his dad, purely because of what his mum had told him. But you know, it was one of them. So yeah, that was then. I don't know if I have any photos of you pregnant with Bloom, because it wasn't like that. Like, being pregnant with Bloom was in the midst of all the drama that we were doing. Oh, I do this, yeah, because let's have you come in here actually, so I can show you. But yes, that meant that she could not take it no more. She was like, I've already had one baby by you while we weren't married, and I hate it, you know, like, I hate every minute of it. Like, I want to marry you, like I do. So in the end, they did like a little tiny sort of not makeshift, but like, they ended up sort of going to City Hall, like the little like area you can go to in Tartosa. They did it there, which is why her sis is constantly pissed off with her when she sees her, because they have a rift about it. They have a sentiment every time, and every time I hope that it'll go, but it doesn't. See, it fades, but then whenever we see each other again, she thinks about it and it comes back. But yeah, she wasn't invited, but it's not like that, because I did it just to seal the deal. Like, we did it just so we could be married before I have another baby. Like, we just didn't want it. You know, I was like, right, I need to be your wife before I bring any other baby into the world that's going to carry your name as well. You know, like, I just need to do it. But yeah, it was kind of crazy, kind of hectic. I added some more drama in, because life just sort of seemed good. You know, life was great. And we had Ivy, and we were going to get married, and we were good. And we, like, lived in a house, and everything was great. Like, she even went back to the lifestyle, and she had her own chickens and stuff. Like, she even did some gardening and all that jazz, and she was loving it, because like, she always thought she was a city girl, but really she wasn't. Like, she loved the countryside. I mean, I know she lives in Copperdale, but she just preferred sort of suburban areas instead of like apartments. Of course you're here, like, why wouldn't you be? And you're probably annoyed at me yet again that I didn't invite you to my wedding. Okay. Before Bloom was born, she actually did take Oakley to meet his dad. So he did meet his dad. That is why he now has like a relationship with him. But yeah, that didn't go very well. Like, it really didn't. Like, they had a bit of a argument in the cafe. They were like in the cafe, and they were shouting and screaming, and yeah, I didn't want it to be one of those situations where like I finally meet you after years and then we start bonding and I like you and things like that. Like I just didn't. I wanted you to sort of hate your dad, but he had the right to know you, and you probably, you know, he sort of thought, well, I'm not doing it for him. Like, I'm doing it because I think it's like the right thing to do, basically. So that is why he did it. And he was like, well, you were right. He was an idiot. So I don't want nothing to do with him. So yeah, it was kind of juicy that time, and I was kind of loving it because I wanted some more like excitingness in my game. Kind of it. So yes, that is pretty much everything about Ev's life, and I mean, there's more that's going because I'm still playing, but I don't know if there's going to be any more drama because I feel like we're at a point now where we're good. Like, we're not having any more babies. Like, they kind of want to. Like, they both had the win for the more children, but I was a bit like, not really. Like, not really. So we're good. We're in like a good way. Like, Oakley's now in uni. The girls, they're growing up. You know, like, you're now a toddler, and like Bloom's going to be a toddler. So it's just hilarious that we had babies like when you were older. You know, like, he's like a young adult and they're young. You know, like, it's kind of funny. But we're just pretty much having a cute life now. But like I say, eventually they are going to renew their vows or like have a proper ceremony with people, like guests and things. And because she wants to wear that fancy dress, like that big white dress, like she's always wanted that, always. But of course, it just hasn't worked out. But now, obviously, she doesn't care because she's married to Cassius, and that's what she wants. But she does like want to do the actual ceremony. So that definitely will be coming in the future as well. So that's very exciting. And now, I mean, she's just enjoying being auntie because obviously you are having kids yourself. Like, Em's just a mum now. Like, she's got a son. Let me actually get Sage up because he's so cute. Here he is. But literally, you're an auntie now because like now you have a nephew. Because you were always the auntie, and it was always you having the baby. But, oh my god, game. Excuse me, what? Are you kidding me? Hey, honey, I would never call you that. I actually wouldn't. It's Dad. Whoa. Yeah, he's like, no, and no. I can't, but it was nice talking to you. Woo! Sigh, I understand you're a busy, successful young man now. Yeah, I am, Dad. Bye. Like, I don't care about you. How did you get my number? Like, actually, because I didn't give it to you when I met you. What's the actual... So yes, please let me know what you think in the comments. I know it's kind of rambly because I had to like basically just tell you about stuff and her life. We didn't really do like any gameplay or anything, but if you would like to see me do more of just like me playing this family, I can do that. It was just more about you. Like, I was just basically just saying about your life because obviously you know, that is you, like you, and I just knew every time I did something else, I was like, I have to do a video about you because you're everything. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in my very next video. Goodbye.